Hi, I'm going to be doing a book review on The Queue by Amy Dintira. I'll just be covering like the synopsis, my overall thoughts, and a little bit background of the author and what's one of the elements used for Latinx science fiction. But I'm going to start with the author. There isn't a whole lot about Amy Dintira other than she had she has written a lot of YA novels, with The Queue being the seventh book of her work. And she was raised in Texas, which most of her books are taking place, especially The Queue. She has a bachelor's degree in journalism and a master's in media arts and screenwriting, which I think it kind of makes sense because the book is kind of very straightforward and like no complicated wording or anything like that. And that might, her degree and education background might probably influence to her writing style. But one of the challenges she had about writing the book was that she started working on it in 2019, and then once 2020 hit, we got into quarantine, all that, so she was worried that nobody's gonna read a book about a post-pandemic world. But I'll get into it. The book it's not very similar to our situation, and doesn't even focus that much on the disease and all that. But I'll just get right into what the book is about. The book is basically about two characters, Macy Rojas and Lennon Pierce. Lennon Pierce is like the son of the presidential candidate, and one of his father's rivals kidnapped him and dropped him into the queue. And it's up to Macy Rojas, who's a lieutenant for one of the enemy territories, which was split into two parts, Spencer's and Lopez. And it's her job to get Lennon out of the queue because certain things happen, which she can be the only one who can take him out, and they only have 48 hours because Lennon took a vaccine that will make him immune to the disease, but will not last, and that's 48 hours. And if she doesn't get him out in time, he'll be infected by the disease and will be stuck in the queue. But obviously, exiting the zone is not easy because they have to get through through enemy territory, and also dealing with another antagonist who's trying to make things worse, But so far, I think the book is okay, I read a lot of YA dystopian books. That's the main reason why I picked this book. And while it's not revolutionary, it's not it's not a unique story in my opinion. It has the tropes of a YA dystopian book. So if you're really not into it, I don't think it's right for you. But if you really are into YA books and just want to read another one, I recommend it. But it is a very fast-paced book. It's not. It only gets boring in the beginning. That's before things start to kick off. Like that. But once Lennon gets dropped, that's when things starts going. And after that, just constantly things happening. I finished the book in 2 weeks. So that kind of says a lot. How fast it is. Even though it's a 300-page book, there are some quite boring, in that lane. But honestly, I think it's a very it's a very quick read. It's a good a very good amount of stuff going on. It doesn't feel like it's very rushed until the end, which I'll get into. I like the characters. It took me a while to warm up to Macy Rojas because she gets introduced in I guess it's somewhat of a prequel, or but it's called Radio Quarantine with Hadley Lopez, but Macy's a guest in it. And this is where one of my issues with it, the humor does not do well, and in the radio broadcast, I could not stand it. It kind of gave me a bad impression what to expect from the book. I didn't know it was gonna be a very bad YA book just because of that radio broadcast. But the more I read through it, she became like more interesting. You know, like mainly because I think it has to do with her relationship with Lennon Pierce, and I like Lennon Pierce. I think he's an interesting character. He's not a useless character from other stories where involve people getting dropped into unfamiliar places. You know, he does panic, which is like understandable, but like he can't hold his own. So it's like that's kind of refreshing. I do like their relationship to each other because like they're able to find some common things with each other, and so they're able to relate to each other of their struggles, and are able to help each other out throughout these things despite their status, you know. And I kind of like just like that about the story. My one of the issues I have, I think, the romance, which is very obvious in a YA book. But I honestly think the romance is developed very rushed. I wish it was kind of developed more, especially the fact that it's in a span of like 48 hours. I find it like kind of like, I don't know, I just didn't like it of it. But the antagonist is fine. It makes sense, but I don't know, he's fine. He's not like the best antagonist I've seen in a book, but he gives them like a good like obstacle to overcome. But I think the biggest issue I have with the book, which I will be getting into major spoilers, and I'll let you know when the end of it is, but my biggest issue that makes it an okay book is the ending. I don't like the ending. Since Lennon was dropped, he's made it clear that he needs to get back outside, get back into like the U.S. and all that. Not the U.S., but like he needed to get back to his family. He has a whole life out there, but even though he has struggle in that life, you know, he still wants to like go back to it, and it's been brought up like several times throughout the book, like even up until like maybe like we get this part, like he's been emphasizing that it is important, you know, even despite, and then he also does have a struggle like not wanting to see Macy again, but there was like no guarantee of that. And I guess that's what led to Lena's decision to stay in the queue, which honestly I didn't like it. Like it just didn't make sense. Like, but like, and it didn't. But like, I don't know. It didn't help really because the author, like, turns out like she planned the ending first, and she wanted to make it a happy ending. So I can get why that decision was made, but for me, I just think it should have ended him finally getting out, and maybe just some hint that they could see each other again. But I don't know. I just felt like it was just too much of a happy ending. But along with that, there wasn't a lot of answers regarding whether or not they found the vaccine, what they're gonna do. Can like Lennon even get out at some point, you know? And then also like another spoiler, Macy's immune to the disease, which again another trope for female protagonists, like, or like the chosen one trope, you know. Not very clear like why is she immune and all that stuff, but that's it for spoilers. But yeah, the ending pretty much stops it from being like a very good book. Like for me, it's an okay book, you know. It's a tolerable read. The characters are fine. They're not like irritating, just except in the beginning with the humor not hitting as the author intends to. But as far as like what elements the book has regarding what makes the Latinx science fiction, is just basically the underdog aspect. I forgot exactly what it is, but like I think it was used with how the Q was like very viewed, has a very negative reputation among the people outside of it. They believe there's just nothing but bad people in there. The place is not suitable to live in, which is honestly the opposite of that. While there are terrible people, and while it's not an ideal place to live in, they have running electricity. They have sustainable houses and all that. It's not a dump, you know. And they made it very clear it's not a bad living place, and they have advanced technology, so they're not like suffering there. The only bad thing is that they have to deal with shipment, which then gets resolved later in the book. But and then another one is Macy Rojas and stuff and herself, because like throughout the book she has not been taken very seriously because she has always been she comes off as a passive person, which in reality she is not exactly a passive person. She's just someone who like does not use a violent approach to solve things, and that's what other characters around her have been using. They think that's the only way to get things across, which in reality it's not. Like, it shouldn't be that way. And then like it makes sense to what happens to her in the book, which I won't spoil. But like, yeah, and it's like nice to see that. I think it was done well for her to show that she is capable of doing the things she does. Like, and just a matter of fact, she just needs to take things into her own hands. She can't like accept that the role she is given needs to like take things in her own hands and all that. But yeah, that's my review for the Q. I do recommend reading it if you're really into YA books. Is it like the next best thing? No, but I do think it's a good read. But yeah, that's it.